It's Wednesday on Jasiri, and we're bringing you a beautiful blend of discovery and depth. First, we're pulling back the curtain to get to know another one of our incredible co-hosts, the voice, the vibe, and the story behind the sit. Now, you hear her every day, but today we go beyond the microphone and into the journey that shapes her perspective. And then we shift to a conversation that matters very, very deeply, and that is autism. What does it mean to live on the spectrum in Nigeria, and what are the myths and the challenges and the realities? And how can we build a society that embraces neurodiversity instead of marginalizing it? It's a day of honesty, a day of heart and human stories. This is Jasiri. Welcome.
So, she's bold, she's brilliant. She always has something witty, wise, and sometimes wild to say. You know her as Lolo, the radio queen, the comedian, actress, and all-around powerhouse. She has made us laugh, she has made us think, and has made her mark in Nigeria's entertainment space. Even this morning, we're talking about it. And she's one of the formidable hosts on Jasiri. But today, guys, we're turning the tables on her. Let's go beyond the punchlines to meet the woman behind the microphone, the mother, the media maven, and the voice that doesn't just speak, but moves people. From career highs and personal lows to her take on life, her take on love, and what it really means to speak truth in public spaces, nothing is off limits. So buckle up, the spotlight is on, and Lolo is in the hot seat. Let's see how she handles the heat.
Well, she's used to handling hits, so she's blushing.
What's going on? All these things that Catherine was video like, okay,
yeah,
that's you.
That's you. Darling, my first question to you would be that, I mean, I always admired you, your quiet strength. Yeah, sometimes you're plenty. We all know that you're plenty. But beneath all of that, please, how do you stay grounded? Like when the spotlight's not on you, when the lights, cameras are off, how do you stay grounded? You're wearing so many hats. Did you see what we just read? That's a lot of things that you do. So how do you balance yourself out, and how do you stay grounded?
Thank you. It's such an honor to be, asked questions by people that you care about. For me, I think I've done a lot for a long time. That sometimes I don't remember how not to be me. And because the starting of your life determines how the trajectory goes, how you go. I think I've always done a lot of things for myself. When I was in secondary school, I was in boarding school from primary 3. Yes, and it was in Ijebu-Ode. So I had to do a lot of things for myself early. As in, I was by myself a lot.
Yes.
So I think that's how I just learned how to just fend for me and watch out for me and care for me, even though sometimes I might not do the best job at it. But I think as I grew, I now began to learn how to draw strength from, my environment. I draw strength, most importantly, from God. That is the pivot of my life. For me, I just think it's the essence of everything. Somehow there are so many times you say, oh, Lolo is strong, because I just think it's because God gives us grace to be. Because sometimes I don't even know how I am able to do all these things and still find a bit of, balance. And I've been privileged that God has taught people in my life at different times that have helped me through very challenging times in my life. And I think I enjoy that privilege from time to time. It might just be one person per season, but I'll be able to, latch onto that and draw wisdom from it. And that's why a Catherine is so precious in my life, because at a season in my life you were very pivotal. I don't even think Catherine knew the impact of that season, because she helped me stay grounded at one of the most difficult times of my life, when I just recently became single. I had no idea about what it means for a woman not to be with a husband.
Naive.
I was so naive. I was a church girl all my life. I didn't know my right from my left. I just knew that, okay, I'm no longer in this situation, and I'm now here. So for me, I think that is what has helped me over time. And now I would say I draw strength from my children, Because now that they're a bit grown, when they're younger, they're so dependent.
Yes.
They look at you for that's so cute. They look at you for everything. But now I can level up with them. They know my strength, they know my highs, they know my lows, they understand me, and we understand ourselves a little better.
Yeah.
So it makes it easy. So when I'm tired, I tell everyone that I'm tired. And my daughter would say, she calls me my baby. I just look at her as small mommy. What's wrong with this one?
My baby.
But she has come to understand that, okay, mommy goes through challenges. Now, every day they will ask you, mommy, how was work? What did you do? Why did you come late? No. And then we talk amongst ourselves. I think all those little things, shape us in ways that you don't believe can shape you.
Yeah. So I think for me, I'm most curious about, because I hear you speak so passionately about a lot of things.
Yes.
And you talk a lot about some things that you wish you knew earlier.
Yeah.
Even though I like to see life as no regrets, just lessons. But I think my question to you would be, what is that one thing you wish you knew or did earlier?
There are so many things. It's such a blessing to recognize your talent early. And for someone like me that lived half of my formative years with low self-esteem of the worst kind, I never just thought I was good enough for everything. I was doing a lot. Of course, I was the head of my choir in university, but I found out that I lived in the shadow a lot. And that is such a scary way to be. Because amongst people, you're hiding in plain sight. That means some of the things I did, I just stumbled on it. It wasn't like I knew how. I was just doing it and keeping up appearances. Because when I talk about my life then, and some of my friends now will say, "But Lolo, you never gave us an impression that you had those challenges." And that's because I used to mirror my life through people, how they lived their own lives, how they did their own things. So one of the things I wish I could do or redo is to have my confidence early enough. I can imagine the giant stride. If people think I'm accomplished now, imagine if I found my magic earlier. Oh my God, that means even with all the things I did in uni, which was a lot, I would have multiplied that. That is something I really desire. If there's anything I would wish to redo, is to be young again and have my confidence. When I look at her now and I see her, I'm so happy that I can give to her what I couldn't get in my own own time.
Yes.
And that's so important for me.
For you.
Very, very. Yes.
All right. So my question would be a cheeky one. People that know Lolo complain. Lolo, if you know her, I've never seen someone, if she could be a professional complainer.
They thought of the song in Sunday school. So they grumble on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, grumble on
That is her.
Oh my God.
So let me ask you a cheeky question. Why do you like to complain, number one? And two, what does it do to you when you complain? Because I think for her it becomes therapeutic or something.
Exactly. It's therapy for me. You know that I go through...
Even when we don't want to listen.
I don't care about it. I learned early...
I just want to sing.
Yes. Half of the time, a lot of people say strong woman, strong woman. But you see, amongst people that I'm very comfortable with, I take my energy from them. I allow myself to be vulnerable enough for you to help me. Because for a woman like me, there are many times I tell you guys I'm tired. I tell you I'm frustrated. Blessing will hold my hand. Catherine will hold my hand. Tolu will hold my hand. Don't you know that for the people I need to be strong for, you guys are my pivot. You are my cushion. That's why I complain to you.
So it's not about...
It's not about anything. It is my way of dealing. Because it's someone like me. When people talk about, people that go to extremes, I knew about my extremes early. That's why I don't go there. There's so many people that know themselves so well. I'm one of those people. I know why I can break. I would break if I have no avenue to speak. If I internalize pain enough, I would take it all. I would do the unimaginable.
No, I think you'll speak to yourself.
Yes. So sometimes I do talk to myself, but it's more when I look at you. I know Catherine loves me. I know Blessing loves me. So I can tell you how I'm really feeling. But for the people that I need to be strong for, I would have drawn my strength from you, drawn my strength from you. So I just fix myself. And sometimes when I live in the moment a lot, I don't extend things beyond now. So whatever you think I'm feeling in the now is what I was feeling. Like I came this morning, I had a little crisis. We dealt with it together. So by the time I leave here, my head is high again. I can breathe again. But if I don't have such opportunities, I do not know what someone like me can do.
So seeing how, because you have a very fragile heart, right? Seeing how fragile your heart is, and in contrast, the kind of industry you find yourself, you are everywhere. In fact, recently when I opened my phone, what did Lolo do again? What did she do this time? What the ones you did, the ones that you didn't do? I have a neighbor that always says, what happened and what did not happen? The twins you had, the ones you know. How do you balance, or how do you deal with being? I know that you've talked about one of your coping mechanisms, but how do you deal with always being in the spotlight? People seeing you, I mean, it's not like you're not successful, it's not like you're not making the cool cash, but people have this exaggerated sense of Lolo. You know, we expect perfection, we expect this, we expect Dangote standard, you know, everything it's just a lot of pressure on you, including the crisis we had to deal with this morning. And I said,
had no business in. God!
To be celebrity will be bins.
I didn't like it.
Blessings said
no, I didn't like a page. I wasn't even following this personality, and yet I saw on the page that I liked a picture that was causing something controversial. And if you were not there, I was asking myself, I don't even follow this person, and it's something really sensitive that I don't know anything about. Imagine if I didn't share. Blessings took my phone, screen recorded. Catherine looked at it to be sure that I was seeing what I was seeing. That's how you cope. But when it comes to social media, I cannot lie to you, it doesn't concern me. I don't read comments. I don't go to all those places. All the Lolo, you are trending. People that have no sense will be sending me captions in my own WhatsApp. Something that I chose not to go to those places to read. I know they are talking.
They'll bring it to you.
Yes, they'll bring it to you. But for me, half of the time I just ignore. I just choose what I consider important to me.
I love that.
It is your comment. If Blessing cautions me about something, she has every right. We have a relationship. So tell me, I have over 800,000 followers. I don't know them personally. So how can each and every one of them hold me accountable for things? They don't know me. They just hear a snippet. Nowadays, we'll talk something on Jasiri. They'll just take a line. Lolo says she was raped. They don't know the circumstances. They don't know. They just clickbait. And how many people can I explain to? So me, I just choose my own battles. Because the war is always there.
True.
But you can win little battles. And that's what I focus on. Or else, I leave the war to rage,
and just
but I take on the battle. And that's it.
I love it. Well, so before I don't know if we have time for one question.
Thank God.
If you,
I'm almost there.
If you had a chance to do something else that is not the law or in the space that you're in now, in fact, it's two questions in one. What would you do? That's one. Number two, what would you say your dream is? How you would like to live? What would make your life better?
I literally can picture Lolo's dream.
I'm sure you are wrong.
I'm wrong,
Trust
actually.
me, I'm not.
Do you know that?
Lolo's dream is taking all the girls on the trip, making sure everybody's okay.
You know,
right?
No mechanic issues.
Partly. I would say that for me, my biggest dream is for love to be experienced through me. A lot of time we forget how to love people really. And that's why I do everything to make sure that I insert myself in your life enough that when you think about me, you will smile, you will laugh. And that's what the world is missing. A lot of people just think they love people, but they don't care about them. Because I love Catherine, I can give you a room to hurt, a room to do, a room to make mistakes, you know, all those things. And those are part of the dreams that I have, that everybody lives in that utopia that at least when you're around me, you know that you can leave everything aside and come. And another thing that I consider a dream of mine is to travel the world.
Yeah, that
Yes,
will.
I want to be able to go.
Yeah,
Not with your girls.
No,
I was right to book
but I won't want to go
taking
alone.
them and then traveling.
I
So
wouldn't want to go alone, but some of you will join me at different places. When you are busy, you go back to your life. You know, I want to just be able to see the world through Lolo's eyes. I want to walk the Himalayan mountain. I want to see monks. I want to go to Beijing. I want to go to Bangkok. I want to go to Asia. I want to see Australia. I just want to see all these places before the earth terminates.
This is
and
tutorial.
that is just it. And what I would want to, what's your second question?
dream. I think that's
Dream, I've answered dream.
Yeah, like to make your life
Or what would you
easy.
do differently if you weren't in the...
Yeah, if you weren't...
Okay, if I wasn't in the media
space,
space, honestly, I cannot lie to you. Dance fascinates me. Professional dancers. When I see people that can dance like ballet,
no, you can dance.
I can dance, but when I see people dance, there are dances, leg walk, all those things that Blessing will just do. I actually wish I could dance professionally.
You can.
Not that kind. I know the dance I dance. My son even wrote under my own page that my mom with the One Nation dance.
Oh my gosh.
Painful. I wish I could dance a little more professionally, swim better. I still want to be an artist, draw flowers and birds and stuff. You know, be eccentric, wear my hair in two buns, wear a flowy dress with no underwear.
Wow. Okay, that's it. All right.
That's
but it's been really, refreshing getting to know Lolo. I think that this get to know is not just for the viewers, it's also for us, because there's a deeper insight into Lolo and why she does some things. And we love you.
I know, girls.
You know, you're just so...
Okay. All right. So we're going to have a very important conversation, but this is still Jasiri, and we'd like for you to stay tuned because the conversation we're having is a very important one on autism. You don't want to miss it. We go on a break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Jasiri. And please don't forget that we're waiting to hear from you via our social media platforms. We are at New Central TV. Today, we're turning the spotlight to a topic that's often overlooked and misunderstood. April is Autism Awareness Month. And I particularly love this year's theme that says celebrating differences. It reflects the need to recognize and appreciate the unique strengths and perspectives and potentials of individuals with autism. But beyond the themed campaigns and the hashtags online, the real question is, do we truly understand what autism is and what it means to live with it in this place that we call Nigeria? That's a very unique question. Yes.
It is. Now, so autism is often different in every person, which leads to it being misread, misdiagnosed, or even dismissed entirely, especially here in Africa, where myths and stigma still cloud the facts. Now, today on the show, we're joined by someone working to change this narrative. David Oludaye is an applied psychologist, a special needs therapist, and the executive director of Lifeline and Milestone Inclusive Development Consultants. Now, he's been on the front lines working with children, families, and communities to demystify autism and create spaces where difference isn't just tolerated but embraced. And we'll be talking about how to recognize autism, what support looks like for autistic children and their families, and how we as a society can move from silence and stigma to real understanding and inclusion. So whether you're a parent, teacher, sibling, or just someone curious to learn, in my mind I heard whether or that in Catherine's voice, this conversation is for you. So David, welcome to Jasiri.
Good morning.
You're very
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you join us.
Thank you.
It's so kind of you to join us.
Thank you.
So let's start with the basics.
All right.
Let's start with understanding autism, because whether we like it or not, the only way we can support is to understand.
Yes.
And for many of us who don't have an idea of what it is beyond the topic, because some people hear autism and shut down. And you hear people say, thank God that's not me, or thank God it's not my child, or thank God it's not my husband, or thank God. We just intrinsically exempt ourselves from autism.
Yeah.
But as much as we shut down after hearing autism, it doesn't negate the fact that we need to open our minds to understand what it is. It's not a death sentence, that much I know. But can you give us a simple explanation of what autism is and what it means to be on the autism spectrum? Because that's very grandiose.
Yes.
So if we can start with that, and then you can throw in what can be referred to as a autism disorder.
Okay.
Spectrum disorder.
Thank you very much. When we refer to autism, or which is for short called ASD, autism spectrum disorder, right? So we refer to a neurodevelopmental disorder. When we say neurodevelopmental, it means that first of all, your mind goes to the brain.
Yes.
So it means it begins with the brain, right? So, and it impacts how a child communicates, interacts with the environment. And when we talk about interaction with the environment, it has to do with how the child also play with other children.
Yeah.
It also affects their emotional regulation, their sensory regulation too. When I say sensory regulation, it has to do with, for example, in the studio, you know, we have the intensity of light, all right? Somebody who is autistic might come here and might be having a meltdown, all right? Or start throwing a tantrum, all right? And also they also react to sound. So all of these things, it also affects their mental health too. So when we talk about autism being a spectrum too, it also means that it affects children or present in children differently, right? So, and it could be mild, it could be moderate, it could be also severe. And to be on the spectrum, or to describe the spectrum, it also means that autism would be different in each children when they are diagnosed. So it presents differently. I need to also add that it also comes, what we usually call the follow-come of autism, the comorbidities, right? So there are other diagnoses that can actually stand alone. But for example, you can be diagnosed to be with autism and still be dyslexic. You can be diagnosed with autism and still have, it can come with ADHD, which we call attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and every other comorbidities.
Exactly.
Wow, comorbidities.
Because I wanted to say there's ASD, then there's ADHD, there's
Yes,
so
we have
many.
speech delays.
So,
we have
so that
different-
means we're saying we can have things like
We have
dyslexia,
dyscalculia,
ADHD without
dyspraxia.
being autistic. But we
Yes.
cannot be one cannot be autistic without having them. Is that what we're
Can you
saying?
take that again?
So it's just like you said something about follow-come. So
Yes.
is it that one can be dyslexic, have ADHD,
And not be autistic? Very
but
well.
you can't be autistic without having one of these? Is that what we're saying?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, so it's like a joint
That's what it
comes
means to
with
be on the
it.
spectrum.
Right.
And the way each child would experience autism, right? It is also different. What I mean by that is that a child can actually experience autism at a mild level. It could be moderate, that's like the medium, and it could be actually severe. You know, formerly, when we talk about the mild autism, it used to be Asperger's syndrome, where you talk about, you know, children who have a high IQ level, right? And you see them very, very very good in certain areas.
Analytics.
Thank you. Mathematics, creative arts, and all of that. You know, so their brain is more of a specialized brain. And that is why the term special needs is adopted to describe children on the spectrum. You see that now? So it's a specialized brain. So autism is not necessarily a disability. It is a different kind of ability.
Wow, like super kids.
Yeah, exactly.
But
they have their own strength, which you don't find in other typical children.
I've seen videos of them playing about with Lego. And you're like, oh my God.
That's why I understand the spectrum thing, because different presentation. And that's why I have to bring this down to Nigeria. How prevalent is autism in Nigeria? Or can we even say we have accurate data? Because we know the peculiarity of Nigeria. Or would we say we are underdiagnosed here? Because I cannot lie to you. Maybe because now I have a lot of education and reading and watching and seeing things, that I will see some of the children. Like, I noticed someone walking on tippy toes. One of my people's children. And I would look and say, I hope this child is not on the spectrum. You know, they are feeling like a doctor. So can you tell us, are we diagnosed here? Do we have accurate data? Or how does autism present itself in Nigeria?
Okay, I would not use many words to describe, what it is with data in Nigeria. We don't have data.
Well,
Yes, we don't. We have been trying to do a lot with, for example, in Lagos, with LASODA, the Lagos State Agency for People Living with Disability. All right. There's a lot going on with trying to see if we can get all the people living with disability, children living on the spectrum, to get to be registered and to be certified, right? So that we can actually assess them and also meet their needs. But if you go to underserved area, you would understand that there is no data. At the moment, you cannot really say that in Lagos State or in a particular local government, these are the number of people that are living with disability or living with autism, right? So, however, you can only talk about data when you go to homes where parents who are probably overwhelmed with taking care of their children or do not even know more, or they are pushed by the superstitious belief around their child's disorder and push them to the homes where they put less privileged children. All right, those are the places where you can say you have data, right? Because they will have to record. Like in our center, we have record of everyone that we actually offer intervention to, or that we have assessed before. So we don't have data, and we need to do much in that regard.
But are doctors equipped to diagnose well enough?
Okay, because hold on to that thought, because I want to go on a short break, and I also want to find out how early we can detect this, but all of this will be answered. So just ponder on that.
All right.
We go on a short break, and when we come back, Jasiri continues with this important discourse. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We're still talking about a very important conversation, autism, or also known as ASD, especially in Nigeria, the detection and how society can handle it. And before we went on break, Lolo was trying to ask a question. Can you remind us your question?
I wanted to ask that, are doctors in Nigeria equipped to diagnose? Because this is like a behavioral diagnosis.
Yes.
Okay, so I would not say that they cannot tell. They can. But when we talk about accurate diagnosis, it's actually the duty of specialists, right? Doctor definitely will have understanding of what it should be, right? They have that general training, right? And but the major people who would be able to do that are the pediatricians. Now, sometimes ago, I was in one of the general hospitals in Lagos State, right? So I was there with my wife for the immunization of my child, right? So, and I was looking at some of the women there who brought the children. It's my thing, is what I do. So I'm able to observe quickly. And, from merely looking at the child, I knew some things were going on. I could spot 2 to 3 women holding children that I felt like, no, this child shouldn't be like this.
Wow.
And I spoke with the nurses, and I asked them, what is going on? Don't you talk to these parents about their child and all of that? They felt like, please, the work is too much for them. They cannot be doing this. And it's true. Many of our hospitals are understaffed, and they don't have the required skill, not only skill,
training.
But the training, the equipment, all right, the resources to do the diagnosis, right? So they just kind of give them the advice they want to give to them, and they just make them leave the place. So they were even trying to tell me if I could come to, help,
to offer,
talk to, the parents, right? And, of course, if you want to do that with a, what's it called, a government hospital, the process you have to go through.
Bureaucracy.
In the case where you don't have the government system and policy that allows collaboration and partnership freely like that, so it's very difficult. So I would say that a lot of people haven't given birth to, and is this serious? Because every child apart from those people who are probably not well-to-do enough to take their, when they are pregnant and they want to give birth, to take, to go to the hospital for delivery. Many of our children are born in the hospital. And when we talk about neurodevelopmental disorder, it means it starts at birth, right? It starts at birth.
So there can be some contributing factors to that.
Yes, a lot of them.
Okay, so still talking about early diagnosis, I think I'm very curious to know, are there signs or symptoms that teachers or parents or even the nurses and doctors, I mean, you said you saw some children and you knew that they shouldn't be like that, but probably because it's your field and you know these things, but for an average parent, they just feel like, this is my child, he's a special child. You know, they say every child is the finest in the eyes of their parent. And, in this part of the world, we most often rely on superstition for pre-forecast. So the child would look like this just because somebody crossed your leg, not because you're noticing something. It's just because you already have an understanding that something happened that might now lead to. So how does a parent or a guardian spot some of these things early?
Okay, very good question. There's what you call developmental milestone. All right, so in our centers and different centers, just to create awareness, you have the charts for developmental milestone, right? For 6 months, there are things you expect a child to be able to do. The reflexes you are supposed to see, the kind of gestures the child should start making, the kind of eye movement and eye contact the child should be making, right? The mother is breastfeeding the child, but the child is not looking at the eyes of the mother. Something is wrong already. So at 1 year, you should expect the child to be able to do some things, like start crawling, and the child is not crawling, the child is not ready to, do some things that every other typical children will do. Right? So you already know that there is a problem. And when you become conversant, it's just easy. You look at every other child. Even though I'm not encouraging comparison, because like we have said, every child is unique in their own right. And apart from that, children develop differently.
Exactly, I was going to ask that. How about
you cannot assume. You cannot assume. So having said that, I'm just talking about the easiest way to pick that something might be going wrong. So what you should do afterwards is to, employ the service of a specialist. The easiest way, because those people, they also know those people who actually do the assessment and the diagnosis. So you go back to the hospital, meet the pediatrician.
Lala, I think Nigerians will first go to the church.
So, and that's because that's when we start talking about the superstitious beliefs. Because maybe the child is demon possessed. Maybe a spirit is living in the child. Because they can't just come to, or even in some homes, right? A woman was telling me a story in Ghana recently, all right? Telling me a story of how that after it was, the child was up to 9 years before she started getting intervention for the child. Because the family kept saying to the woman, right, that she actually got the child from another man. That it couldn't have been from the family. They don't understand that even if it is not genetic, because we have different causes. It could be genetic. It could, if it is genetic, you would have seen other people having the signs in the family, in the health history of the family, right? Then it could be environmental. Sometimes the woman at pregnancy might experience some, sickness, and that can affect the development of the child. And don't forget that when the fetus in the womb, the brain is just forming at the time. Even apart from the sickness itself, the treatment of the mother can actually affect. That is why you will see there is restriction to the kind of medication that the pregnant woman can actually use, because these things interact with the development of the brain of the child and can impact them permanently.
Wow. So, I mean, we hear a lot about these disorders. There's so many fancy names for. I was going to ask what causes it, but you've sort of touched on that. But we have all fancy names, David. we have dyslexia, we have autism, we have ADD, attention,
ADHD. You're also correct.
Voilà. And then there's OCD.
Obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah.
Now,
ADHD.
let me clarify. ADD is attention deficit disorder.
Yes, that one.
ADHD is attention deficit disorder with hyperactivity.
Voila, because
so it means you can have attention disorder and you are not hyperactive. You are not impulsive. People who are hyperactive, they can take turn. You know, so more like a child is in the classroom, for example, is having ADHD, is calm, and the teacher is wondering, this child is very calm. I don't know why it's not just coping in the classroom. All right, because you do not understand that this guy can have attention deficit without hyperactivity.
But David, listen, these things, when we're talking, since we started having the conversation, I was trying to cast my mind back growing up. I didn't hear these things. Nowadays, people think it's a Western thing. I mean, is it imported, the Oyibos, because with them, everything
even Tourette's syndrome. Last year, that I discovered that.
Social media does a lot of education for me, because that's where I see so many children on the spectrum and different behavioral patterns.
So where were we before this? I mean, guys, I never heard.
Did we import them?
I have an answer for you.
What was life like? What did we have before these? Was there even something we had before all of this?
Okay, autism has always been present in every continent and every country, every community.
Is it the food we eat too?
No, not necessarily. It could be a factor, right? It could be a factor. But what wasn't there for us in Africa, most especially in Nigeria, was awareness. So our people have the name they give to these things
Witchcraft.
already. So do you understand that? So what you see now is not autism increasing, it's awareness. And increasing.
Imagine if you had a child that was hitting
Autism has always been there.
A child that was hitting the head on the wall, which you say is a demonic
Flapping,
operation.
steaming, flapping, and all of that. So when I see all of this,
Going in circles,
I've
seen cracking.
tiptoeing,
they
sometimes they have
almost
repetitive behavior.
Yes.
They can just, stay in a place and just keep pushing the Legos and coming back, and they can be there for hours.
And unfortunately, they almost always end up with one grandmother in the village.
Yes.
Because growing up, I'm casting my mind back now, and I'm realizing that at some point I had some classmates that were not really like me, and then all of a sudden, he has gone to meet grandma in the village.
Now, let me tell you something about myself. All right, so I do tell people that I am a neurodivergent person. So when we talk about neurodiversity, we're just talking about the neurotypical brain, and we're having the neurodivergent brain. So when we talk about neurotypical, it means we have the population of people that think and their brain process the same way. Right? Normal, you come to this place, at most if the light is too much, the refraction in your eyes, it doesn't affect you so much, you just regulate yourself and all of that, But for a neurodivergent person, I'll say, okay, let me use myself as an example. Like I said, I do say I am a neurodivergent person. So while growing up, so I wouldn't know, wasn't just doing well, and my parents would get me all the textbooks, and at the end of the session, right, there will be prizes and all of that for students, and they are aware that my friends do get my textbooks to read, and they get the prizes, and I don't get any. So I managed to pass, in fact, all my results. Maybe I had 3 credits, every other part of my result for, what is this DS3?
Junior,
It was all pass. And that's because there were extra lessons and all of that. So, so what I'm trying to say is that all of this period, all I get is, why are you like this? Why are you like that?
So
my parents do not even know better, right? And I am not blaming them. They did their best, right? But I knew that something was going on.
Yeah.
Right? With the knowledge that I have now, I know I am not autistic, but I actually know what is going on with me now, like what was going on then. So I later find out that I actually learned differently. And that wasn't present in my education system.
Okay, you said this thing about learning differently. I have a question to
Yes.
that, but I want us to go on a break because it's quite interesting.
All
When
right.
we come back, we'll pick it up from there.
That's right.
Stay with us.
All right, so today on Jasiri, we're shining a light on a topic that's too often misunderstood, autism. In Nigeria, awareness is growing, but stigma and misinformation still stand in the way of support, inclusion, and proper care. Still with us is David Oludaye. He's an applied psychologist and the executive director, Lifeline, and Milestone Inclusive Development Consult. Now, let's go back to learning differently, David.
All right.
You guys should have heard what was going on.
Wow, so much
Honestly,
knowledge.
so I was trying to ask a question about people who, because I have encountered, and I really do agree that it's not the newness of the situation. It's awareness. Because
Growing body
I have a
awareness.
friend who always says things like, there was a time he was trying to literally explain how he learns, and he says if his reading is a waste of time. So you see that image part of Google, he clicks on it, and the images literally jump out, and he's trying to understand it. And when he said, honestly, I felt, yeah, I've watched too much Marvin movies. But apparently there are people who learn like that.
Yeah.
So I think he calls it a pictorial. I don't even know what he says, but he says it's not, I don't know, but it's a pictorial learner. So can you speak to that?
Tactile
learner.
Okay, so
Auditory,
Yes.
So your friend is actually a visual learner.
Right.
Visual learner. So for somebody who is a visual learner, due to the differences in the way the brain actually learns or processes things, right? So such a person would actually need pictures,
Visual aids.
visual aids in the class, right? So we have a lot of children in the class that the teacher is just, this is my curriculum. What do they call it? Curriculum, right?
Yeah.
This is what I have. They prepare their lesson notes.
Yeah.
And everybody in the class, they are just there. So at the end of the day, they grade everyone the same way. And so you say, this child is not learning. That child is slow.
Meanwhile,
This child is dumb. And we have tactile learners. Tactile learners are people that know, because of the way their brain actually process things, information, and the information from the environment, they are tactile learners. Once you don't take them to touch the information you are trying to pass across to them, it doesn't stick.
Even if they're
And we
seeing it.
have auditory learners, right? So we have different kind of learning,
Abilities.
mediums, right? So these are the things that we actually assess in children, all right? And that is why our education sector and system needs to do much
Because, I was
about
going to
ensuring
say
that there is the presence of people who actually deal with these things in every school.
But so the problem is, I don't think many people would come to the realization of the fact that they are auditory learners or tactile learners. Like in school, I might just be wondering, I'm reading this thing, why is it not coming? It's later you now realize, okay, no, I think I don't think that it would be their fault if they don't detect it on time, because clearly
that's right.
that means in majority of our school systems are literally telling a fish to climb the tree. But you can't say that this person is a tactile learner, because I don't know how to
There are
explain
no teaching aids. Look at Nigeria. We talk Montessori.
Yeah.
A lot of people think Montessori is just child's play. That is like a visual school.
True.
Where they use applied knowledge to teach children.
And practical
Shapes
things.
are practical. They teach them to do the zero. They teach them to make the T.
Exactly.
They are interacting with what they're learning. Look at our school system. We don't even have exercise books.
No.
So how many children do you want to have auditory aids for or visual learning aids for? So what are we saying? And I just think that because we don't is it that the government we need better policies for children that have, unique abilities? Like I see a lot of these aids. They are not things that carpenters can do. But we just don't think it's important.
Thank you.
Do you think that the government as it is now, are they putting enough eyes on these issues for special needs children? Because I know Lasoda is actually headed by one of our friends, Adenike Oyetunde,
Exactly.
Sheriff.
Good woman.
Lawal. Sorry, I wanted to put her last name. Lawal. And I know that they are doing a lot of things. Do you think we need more policy? Or what can we do better? Because this is no longer something that we can sweep under the carpet. It's right before our faces.
Okay, so actually, you see, if people are actually doing well, you should commend them. Yeah. So I would say that Lasoda is really, really trying. But I also want to say that, you see, when it has to do with policy, we were talking about data the other time.
Yeah.
If a government of a state or the nation do not have the data of people living with disability or on the spectrum,
Yeah.
of neurodevelopmental disorder, how can they even provide for them? So do you understand what I'm saying here? How can they even provide for them? So when it has to do with, what has been done, a lot is actually going on. We have different clusters of people living with disability in Lagos State, and they have various needs. Somebody living with Down syndrome, the needs is actually different from somebody living with cerebral palsy, somebody who is autistic, somebody who is dyslexic, somebody living with dyscalculia, or living with dysprasia, or motor dysfunction, and all of this, the diagnosis on the spectrum, right? So there are different needs. And because there are various needs, it is very, very important that we first of all identify who are they and what is their need. And talking about, recently, a parent was complaining about a child that, the woman thought the girl was deaf.
Wow.
But the young girl was actually living with auditory processing disorder. Now, auditory processing disorder is not deafness.
Okay.
It's just that when verbal information, sound comes in, they process it differently from a typical person. Don't forget that the background of everything is actually in the brain.
Yeah, it is.
And when you look at every part of the brain, they actually are responsible for one thing or the other that we are able to do. It is the central nervous system. So this child, maybe there are three. You tell this person, go and do this, you to do this, you to do this. So the child is still there, and it looks like, so you didn't hear what I said. So every other person have done what they were asked to do. Maybe an hour later, this person just went to do, and the person is just coming back because you don't even understand what it is. You say, since morning that I told you, you say, you are just stubborn, you are just disobedient. But there is auditory processing disorder.
Wait, I'm sorry. So the person hears, what does the person hear at the time they're talking?
Okay, the person actually heard the information, but the person is actually processing the information. So when you talk about memory, for example, for people living with learning disorder, right, healthy. So when you talk about memory, you have long-term memory and you have short-term memory, right? So short-term memory is used for immediate awareness of information and a task that you are given to do, right? So, but the long-term memory is where after a while, the information moves to the long-term memory. So the short-term memory, if the person is having a dysfunction with that, right? You see that you tell the person, please, can you pick this and take it there, come back and do this. The person might go. Before coming back, the person has forgotten all the information.
David,
we have to have you back on this chair.
Sorry to break it to you, but you're coming back.
Okay, no,
we can't finish
That's too much we can take for today, but
honestly.
watch out for part 2, because this is a very important conversation, and it's really interesting. I am learning a whole lot on this table. I'm sure you are too. So watch out. David is coming back definitely. That's what we have on Jasiri. Thanks for watching. Join us again tomorrow, same time. From the ladies, bye.
Bye.